I hope, pretty general story that is useful for various editions. We are already like a meeting with a Norwegian group of different digital edition representatives, and we see the same problems and challenges, or opportunities, or whatever you call them. Anyway, so this is capturing our journey, but externalizing for others. So this is a short high overview, so high-level picture. Then we present Ibsen stage, which is not the core of this presentation because it's not like a XML, but rather relationship database. Then his Ibsen writings. This is the core representation. Corpus, challenges, platform, crossroads, and journeys. What we did and what we learned, and then eventually future. So this, you see mouse, I guess, right? Okay, so this is just primarily to scare you, nothing to worry about, but virtual Ibsen is a high level, but what we are talking here today is just one aspect of Ibsen, so it is various projects together that are unfortunately not strongly connected at the level of entities. This is a future, but conceptually and regarding content and very, very interrelated. So we have Ibsen writings, which is the texts. We have a Ibsen stage, which will discuss more about performances. We have media store of any media related to facsimiles, etc., related to Ibsen work, and multilingual, because primarily this is in Norwegian, or dansk-norsk, like our regional old variant of Norwegian. So first of all, just a little bit of Ibsen stage, primarily because it is a true collaborative platform, on the contrary to his like writings. So it is amazing in a way that there is a huge, I mean huge in a sense of like a distributed collaborative group of various countries, editors working collectively on enriching the corpus. It's growing, constantly growing edition with all various data there across different countries, plays, different theater, etc. So this is basically Ibsen stage. Screenshots, I will show just quickly. So there are like works, events, venues. So basically anything you want to know where, how it's performed, very useful for multidisciplinary research work, even training, theater training, directors, etc. And this is in the numbers. Anyway, so I will be very quick with this. But as you can see, it is research infrastructure. It has a lot of various representations of a data ready for you to explore. And that's it about it. So I just wanted to show it primarily as a one of the really active collaboration. Is it micro or macro? It's hard to say, but definitely interesting. But again, a relation data model, not non-XML standard. So skip forward. Here it is, the main thing, much more attractive regarding language, I guess. So unfortunately there is no English, and there is a lot of discussion about that, multilingualism, but specifically for the anniversary of Ibsen in a few years. But anyway, so just quickly going through this, these are all plays, then this is poetry, these are the letters that Ibsen wrote to various people. Then there is a prose, different various materials for teaching, education, etc. And now like a history of Ibsen and the story behind. So kind of a lot of pain coming from the historical perspective of twin projects. So historically, the anniversary was first of Ibsen death, and now it's Ibsen birth. It can be only in an Ibsen style, I guess. But overall, there was interestingly much more money to celebrate death than birth as well, which is also kind of interesting, I guess, for Scandinavia and Norway. Like, I mean, it is all its own story, but not kind of more kind of culturally political topic than XML. Nevertheless, it was a lot of work at Ibsen, a lot of foundational data, XML data, etc. Anyway, a lot of that was acquired by Oslo University and Center for Ibsen Studies, which I work at and belong to. Basically, so we got a lot of data, and originally the work was published as a printed edition, but following TEI. Right, so very heavily done, serious editing, great scholars working on it, like I think 6 books edition. So pretty great work. And then at a particular moment, the idea was to make it digital edition, which was obviously great for all the reasons that we discussed already. No need to repeat. But the main challenge that we faced is that foundation of a printed technology. Nevertheless, so as I said, there are the main texts, manuscripts, facsimiles, secondary material, comments, critical apparatus, everything is downloadable, XML, PDF, converted to Kindle, EPUB, and is in daily use. So anything break, we immediately get red alert and flags, so we cannot afford that in a sense. It is pretty active and interesting compared to some more kind of separate case of a scholar edition that I was working with before. So again, this is the history, twin project that we talked about, right? Then there is a digital edition, but there are different phases, right? So here you can see we just published version 1.4, just like I think a month ago, or even weeks ago. Core thing is that all digital edition is heavily done through XML and XLT, XML transformations, which means that it's, from current perspective, pretty awkward approach, you can say. And that awkwardness, or non-traditional from the current perspective, is a main problem, because there are different sections, different kind of politics at the Oslo University, which are responsible for maintaining. And it's a really challenge for them to accept a unique project, which XML, which comes to sustainability of digital editions, which is a completely separate problem, but something that we kind of thoroughly go through and aware with all other editions at Norway, I would say, like for example, just that lack of maintenance, a lot of editions that belonged to Oslo University were delivered to Bergen simply because they were not maintained well. So this is our last edition that we have in Oslo, critical edition in that sense, so that's why we are very careful about it, to not lose the last one. Anyway, as you can see, a lot of different languages, Perl, so it's kind of history of programming, script languages encoded in one, and they are all alive at the same time, unfortunately. And then there is Java, there's another Java environments, Tomcat, etc., like for all of you that you're curious about it, pretty heterogeneous, hard to maintain. Then, on the other hand, we really aim to be fair from both sides, or actually, I mean, 2 aspects, but both sides. Like one aspect to share data, but also share API. So both from the behavioral and kind of data representation, but also we want to reuse, as we discussed like a little bit yesterday. I mentioned we really would like to integrate different tools, so that we are open not just for others to use, which is absolutely fine. This open, everything is open license, but we also want to share and integrate different tools like a Dracor and other tools, also bibliographic records, etc. Again, coming to the foundation, it is XML based. So we have ExistDB. You heard a little bit about ExistDB yesterday, right? Then Apache Cocoon, which is kind of a framework. You can imagine it, I don't know, as a, basically Apache Web Server or Nginx, but on steroids. So basically it's all workflows, very nice, but abandoned. Then there's XML content, both for pages and corpus. So corpus is fine, but even that was actually pain, because we had a struggle to argue that we need corpus in XML rather than in text, markdown, or anything else. So there was a challenge to save it. And we are not unique in that sense. Like this is actually happening right now to Munch or Monk, if you like to pronounce it, but Munch in Norwegian. So basically, all his archive is basically being reduced to pure text in a sense, like with some marked annotation and so on. So this is really kind of, you know, we are at the edge, at the rim, trying to survive this evolution and protect the core values and critical edition. And big pain to do that is that everything is in XML, so all layout, I will show that later. And people are really not kind of comfortable with XLT, you know, and not kind of even engaged with the Beirut network that we are part of. Basically, you know, like there was incentive to give a course of XLT or XML and all XQuery, but people are kind of not seeing the need for it, surprisingly. Anyway, and then you see scripts. So further on, this is as simple as it can be how it looks like. So we have a browser, we have a cocoon that is handling our request. So this is just simply to understand how that thing works. So then we have a different routes. Like you can imagine different pages on the XML that we basically understand, okay, what we need to provide. And then we basically get content, or from ExistDB if it's corpus. Content is basically information about, you know, resources, education, whatever. And corpus is Ibsen plays, poetry, etc. So either of these we use, we do some kind of additional transformation, we provide it back, and then after that we do a lot of digesting, chewing to transform XML into through XSLT into HTML, right? And that is kind of the whole web page, everything. I will just go here to show you, for example, all this is basically transformed. Nevertheless, I'm going back and I will come back to see that later. And that is a problem. So now we are with the Ibsen at the crossroad. We are trying to understand what to do. Of course, there is an anniversary. We want to shine. We want to show a lot of great things, like I know, generative AI, hackathons, creative work, education, games, everything. But we, again, have to care about future, maintain simplicity. So, you know, one hand, XML versus no XML, richness versus simplicity, easy to maintain, new features that we really care about, but we want to also to provide maintainability. Should it be interactive or static but easy to deploy? Is it in-house or third-party solutions? We were exploring TI Publisher, and so on and so on. And then about crowdfunding in-house, this is more regarding editing, and that is more about Ibsen stage currently, not about writings. So Ibsen is basically wondering where should he go. This is just a little bit more, I will just not stay on this, but different kind of, again, options, possibilities, what we can do or should do. And now finally we come to something that is more takeaway for you. So we identify, okay, what kind of directions, what our crossroad is about. So currently we are here, right? Top left. So everything is XML, both content, both web pages. XML is source of truth, used for rendering in real time, right? And then there was another strategy that a lot of, I would say, modern, current day solutions applying XSLT, transformation XML at TEI are approaching at Daria this year, anniversary, not anniversary, sorry, but like an annual event. There were a lot of different projects presenting, approaching that way. So basically, you have all that thing, but XML, XSLT, you transform it, build like through GitHub Actions, and then you have a static content that you deliver, so it's very easy to deploy, very easy to build, there are no any kind of pain, you know where is what, and you just kind of have a nice solution. However, regarding interactivity, editing, etc., that is more critical. So we didn't want to go in that quadrant, let's say. we wanted to be kind of more, in a sense, traditional, not this kind of, they call it, you know, jamming or jazz jamming or whatever you like to call it, edge web or something. Nevertheless, that was not our path. Then another path in the bottom right corner was kind of XML is still source of truth, that we a little bit touched now with discussion about pure text, LaTeX, etc. So instead of that, we can actually have XML, but only as a source of truth. So editors are working with XML, they do everything with it, but then we move XML to derivatives, either like a pure text, annotations, database content, whatever, just name it. So whatever is necessary for us to render content. And that was, again, interesting, but like a lot of work on our side. We would not be able to afford this kind of migration burden or gap or not smooth transition. So basically, we are currently in the top right corner. And we are moving toward that one and forward. So content is XML with accessibility transformations in real time. So we digest, transform something that we think it is healthy approach, right? So we basically have very kind of business related, in a sense. What means business related? XML transformation that understand that, for example, per GINT, if we are searching for per GINT, we will get a lot of per GINT because there are a lot of different metadata about it in the play stages, etc. So we know that our TEI is specifically organized, and we use specific X queries and transformations to avoid it and provide useful data. So in that sense, it is kind of like a lot of agnostic knowledge about it, but so that's why we cannot detach from XSLT, and we don't want to, and that is fine. So, you know, those future maintainers of Ibsen are happy with that, as long as we deal with XSLT. So they say, okay, fine, we will work with that, but you have to change XSLT or take external contractor, whatever. We don't want to know anything about it. Which is, of course, unpleasant. And a lot of editors of editions are not comfortable with XSLT or XQuery, which is another challenge. Nevertheless, we kind of detached from whole page as huge XML XSLT, which is good. That is the design I mentioned, so I don't need to go too much, but as you can see, different scripts, different frameworks, Cocoon, XSLT for everything, Java underneath, Tomcat, and so on and so on. PLSQL, even business logic in Oracle, you know, kind of hard to maintain. A lot of, like, I mean, you would need, I would say, at least, you know, 4 or 5 developers to tame all the technologies. We are going further. We are reducing single language, no Tomcat, no Java, in that sense, moving to MariaDB, etc. So this is first journey. So we flattened and cleared out the framework, which is already good, much easier to maintain. So University of Oslo is happier in that sense. Then again about media store. So there is, of course, a lot of ideas about how to organize media store. There are like a lot of conceptual models. We used to use CI-doc CRM model, which has a great potential, like in a GLAM environment or projects. But unfortunately, implementation of it was kind of historical evolution of a different scripts, different solutions, different not different databases, but like different actually tables and relationships and models inside of the same database, which was even more wild. And then also due to this kind of history, facsimiles was, it happened at one moment that we don't know where are facsimiles. They're on different servers, different projects that we cannot even reach them. Pretty kind of unpleasant scenario. And even if we know them, we don't know how to, for a specific page in a letter, how to identify which file exactly is that one, because there is a lot of voodoo across different scripts and the kind of internal ways of matching, mapping, etc. So we basically ended up in a black box approach, that we are crawling our own website to rebuild those understanding in a black box thinking. We don't want to know what it is there because it's too insane, and then rebuild them in a separate tables and use it for the later simple flattened mapping, which is kind of, like a, almost archaeological work in a black box. Anyway, and we are actually kind of time bomb is ticking because constantly versions are broken, etc., or people are getting retired. One is already got retired, another one is about. So it is exciting, almost like in a hacking movie rather than in a reality. Right, and then there is like a challenge. Okay, what about more robust solution, Fedora, Islandora, or Mac OS with more advanced AAAF standards, etc. Anyway, so far we just flattened that with all this what I described, and we are already happier. So this journey is finished. This is just example of media store that we're currently using, which is internally built. And then moving away from Cocoon, and that is kind of main reason is Cocoon is abandoned. We didn't actually care too much at Ibsen Center, but university maintainers did say, like, okay, we don't want to have anything with Cocoon, and it's kind of too much XML mindset, which is kind of not letting us free from the project. So let's try to avoid that. And there's also kind of some dirty ways how Cocoon does things. So again, intentionally complicated in a sense to understand. We came from this simple diagram that you saw before, end up with something much more complex. So that is a bad thing, of course, much more to maintain. But again, like a great thing is we have much more control, we have insights, we have debug console to understand like where exactly page comes from, what is the XLT transformation, how it is generated. We have much more insights about that. And then we are free of technology locking into Java, Cocoon, Tomcat, etc., which is another burden to maintain. And this is basically where we are currently. We are trying to kind of remove that XSLT presentation, and that's why do not open it on phone. It will not work. It will be embarrassing. But actually, it happens to be, like a just example why it is wrong is like a, title is if else, or like a switch case, etc., with 100 lines, or maybe 200 lines to generate the title of the edition, in a single place, which is, a lot of broken things. But when we try to break it, it is not easy. Here, for example, you have a breadcrumb, and that breadcrumb is generated from XML with the transformations all over. So we cannot just just have a hard-coded template, metadata, SEO, etc. So it is all from XSLT hierarchy of them together. We have to kind of even identify what does what. So basically metadata breadcrumb is generated from it, then corpus is generated from ExistDB using X queries, and then corpus XSLT to transform it. And that actually we will keep because it is really necessary. Facsimiles, another journey, XSLT, JavaScript, and then basically routing through all PHP, Python, PLSQL, through different views. Like, we even didn't have access to, we didn't even know how to access Oracle, how crazy path was. Eventually we reversed that. And then comments, again, like Ajax calls from XML. So there is kind of basically you have a backend rendering XML, XSLT into addition of it, then suddenly you have front-end Ajax call from JavaScript, which is actually borrowed from another critical edition from Finland, so which we also don't have overall control of everything. And then search, another story, Lucene, ExistDB, XQuery. As you can see, pretty wild. And then the last kind of part of journey is modernizing parallel view. It is pretty rich, pretty powerful. You can have multiple views, multiple like a commentary, facsimiles all together. Oops, where is the, there is birthday, but where is the challenge about the journey? I think I lost one slide. But anyway, the challenge, as I said, like a JavaScript coming from Topelius, from Finland. You cannot present different Catalina, like two versions, because earlier editors recognized it as a separate work. So you cannot compare version 1 of Catalina and version 2, which is kind of serious problem for researchers, etc., etc. Alignment doesn't work properly. So this is really big feature improvement which we want to do, and of course nothing is visible in a mobile or even tablet or something. And then I'm actually finalizing with it. So it is happy birthday, Ibsen. It will get soon 200 years, and in that case we want to kind of contribute to that. So we have new version 1.4, which is more fancy to say, hey, we are active, we want to be, to get support, money, engage with others and so on. We are doing a lot of simplification, but what about vision of a new Ibsen space? And that is basically the last slide. So a part of all this kind of maintenance, we envision Ibsen in much greater realm. So we envision Ibsen resources aligned and interconnected, like imagine semantic web, ontologies describing everything, each entity across Center of Ibsen Studies, libraries, museums, theater, aggregators, Wikidata, just among others, interconnected with unique identifiers where you can search and find bibliography of every reference, whatever you care about. And we applied with the Norwegian Council for the next 4 years. We are just actually looking for the results. Keep thumbs up in a week, I think. And we are partnering with National Library, with the Ibsen Museum, etc. So we hope to achieve like a new level of critical edition, interconnecting plays, current stage. So because, Ibsen is not dead in that sense. Long live Ibsen, because it is, example of fight for feminism, rights, theater performances. Even Zhao, actually movie, apparently is inspired by Ibsen play Ghosts. Right, so there are like a lot of opportunities, and we really see it as a model of a future version of Ibsen, of critical editions, interconnected with much more than just pure text and critical editions. Yep, that's it. Thank you very much.